Hello and welcome to Confessions of a Yarn Addict. This is episode 34. My name is Anniken Allis and I live in the southwest of England. If you can hear a bit of noise, I have got my window open because it's very hot here today and my office gets incredibly hot. So the window is open. So if you can hear a bit of birdsong or a bit of noise, I do apologise. Also, because the window is open, it's making my door, which is on that side, squeak a little bit. So I do apologise if there are any noises. But hopefully you can hear a bit of birdsong because there are lots of birds in our garden at the moment. So thank you very much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I have a bit of knitting to share with you, a few days out, and a little bit of exclusive footage from my appearance on Yarn Lane TV last Saturday. I'll talk more about that in a minute. If you like this program, if you like what you see, please consider subscribing and please give the program a thumbs up and leave a comment. And I hope you enjoyed this program. So this sweater that I've been knitting for a deadline, I finished it. I've actually filmed a blocking tutorial, which I will share when the sweater is published, which will be just before Christmas. So when I was blocking it, the sleeves looked very long. I tried to measure the sleeves carefully when I was knitting it, but obviously I wasn't careful enough. So now it's blocked, it's dry, so I decided to check all my measurements. And I realized that the sleeve is 2 centimeters too long. So I'm going to try and show this without showing you the yoke detail because I can't really show you that till the magazine has been published. So I put a marker where I started the sleeves. One thing I mentioned in the blocking video is that the tension on the yoke and the body and the tension on my sleeve varied quite a lot. And I don't quite know why, because I did use the same needles, the exact same pair of needles. I just did the sleeves on the magic loop. So I think the magic loop, when I knit magic loop, I'm probably a little bit tighter, which I didn't realize. So I put a marker there because I find it easier to measure them from the underarm. Also a little bit loopy there, so I might have to go back and close that up a little bit. So I measured from there all the way down to the wrist and realized it's 2 centimeters too short, so then I just measured 2 centimeters up from the end of that rib and put a marker in there and counted the number of rows, and then I did the same thing on this side. If you're a round out, it's not going to make any difference because this yarn is quite thin. So round or two out, you're not going to make a huge amount of difference. It's not going to be visible with the yarn this thin. Will make a difference in thicker yarns, but not on this yarn. So this afternoon, I'm going to undo the rib, undo back to there, and then re-knit the rib. The rib is 12 rounds of a 1x1 corrugated rib. So yeah, it wasn't something I wanted to do, but luckily I don't actually have to post this until tomorrow. The deadline is in 2 days, so I need to post it special delivery tomorrow, so I do have time to do this. But I was hoping I wouldn't have to, but mistakes happen, so at least this one is one that's easy to fix. So last weekend I was on Yarn Lane TV. I was on for an hour on Saturday. It's my second appearance. I was there on Easter Monday in April, and I'm going back again in August, middle of August. I will put a link below to the program. So I was on Yarn Lane to talk about 2 of my patterns, and Yarn Lane was selling kits. So one of the patterns, or one of the kits, was the Dakota kit. This is the Dakota shawl. I think all the Dakota kits have sold out because it's a relatively easy shawl, a relatively small shawl. It's quite suitable for people who are new to lace knitting and new to knitting shawls. It's quite a popular pattern. So I think all the Dakota kits they had have sold out, but you can get the pattern from my Payhip and my Ravelry pattern shops, and you can get the Sab Ball 100 to knit it in from my website. So I'll link to that below as well. And then they also had kits for my Coverack shawl. A little bit difficult to show on here because it is quite big. This takes 2 rings of Sauberpallen, which is this. So it takes 2 of these rings, 2 of Sauberpallen, and Yarn Lane. When I checked before recording this, they still had some of these, some of the kits for Sauberpallen available. I think they've sold out of this colorway, but they do have some of the other colorways. So if you are interested in buying a kit for this Coverack shawl, I'll put the link to the Yarn Lane order page below, where you can see my kits. It does actually, I think, work out slightly cheaper to buy the kit from them rather than to buy the yarn and the pattern separately from me. So you do get a good price. If you just want the pattern, you can get that on my Ravelry pattern shop and my Payhip pattern shop, and I'll put all the links to that below. And of course, I do have a few colorways of the Sauberpallen in my online shop. But if you want any of the kits that Yarn Lane are selling, it might be cheaper to order the kit from them rather than to get it separately from me. So yeah, I hope if you are here because you saw me on Yarn Lane, then thank you very much for joining me. If you've discovered me in another way since my last episode, or if you discovered me recently, thank you very much. Do share my podcast with your knitting friends. I am still building this channel. I'm getting close to 1,000 subscribers, which is quite a big thing because I've only really been doing YouTube kind of actively in the last year or so, really. Before that, I was just posting occasional tutorials. Then over the last year or so, I've been trying to be a bit more regular and do regular podcast episodes. So do consider subscribing if you haven't already, and do tell your friends as well if you enjoyed the podcast. So Yarn Lane was great fun. We drove up on Friday, so my oldest daughter Vanessa is home at the moment, and my husband had booked Friday off a long time ago. So they decided they would come along for the ride because it's a long drive from here. We drove up on Friday. We had planned to stop at a place called Whitley Court in Worcestershire, and we've been there before. It's an English heritage place. It's beautiful, and I have some video from that in a minute. So we had planned to stop there on the way up, and we worked out they would take about 3.5 hours to drive there according to Google Maps. And we thought, well, there might be a bit of traffic, we need to stop a couple of times, so we'll say 4.5 hours, and that should give us plenty of time. So we had to book our slot for Whitley Court. So we booked our slot at 3 in the afternoon. We left at 10 o'clock, so we thought, well, that gives us plenty of time. That was what, 5 hours? And yeah, it took us 8 hours to get there. So we missed our trip to Whitley Court on Friday. So on Saturday, because the show's on at noon, so I was finished at 1 o'clock, and it was quite close to where the studio is. So we actually spent Saturday afternoon there instead. So I'm going to show you a little bit of a sneak peek behind the scenes I did at Yarn Lane TV. I apologize for the start of the video, which is a little bit noisy because in the room I was in, they had the TV on with the Sewing Street program on in the background. So Yarn Lane and Sewing Street are sister companies, and they go from one to the other, and it's the same studio basically. So while I was waiting, I was watching Sewing Street. So yeah, I really enjoyed watching that while I was waiting, but there is a little bit of a noise in the background of this video because the telly was on in the background. So I do hope you can hear what I'm saying. And then I also actually did a very sneaky peek as I was standing in the studio waiting to go on, because there's a very short gap between programs. They only have like 3 or 4 minutes between 2 programs, for the previous guest to come out, me to go in, wipe down the table, sanitize the table, for John to have a quick break and a quick drink, because you do get quite thirsty for talking for so long. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was good fun. I demonstrate quite a lot. A lot of people were saying that they were amazed at how fast I knit, and if you watch this podcast regularly, you'll be used to seeing how I knit. I do knit quite fast, and that's because I knit continental style. And just in case you don't know, I do actually have online courses on both continental knitting and lace knitting. So my lace knitting course is called Successful Lace Knitting, and obviously my continental course is called Continental Knitting. And in my continental course I show you how to do the continental knit stitch, the continental purl stitch, and the Norwegian purl. So I'm going to show you the behind the scenes at Yarn Lane now. So I'm in the green room for Sewing Street and Yarn Lane. You can hear the live program that's going on at the moment in the background, and I'm just waiting to go on. I've got about 45 minutes to just sit here and relax and do a bit of knitting, and then I'll be on my second appearance of Yarn Lane.
This is my own personal thing. I love this fabric, but I'm just wondering if a little girl would want to be dressed, she might think it's a bit like
this is what I'm demonstrating today, the Cobrak shawl and the Dakota shawl. Got my face mask ready, got my patterns and notes in there, got my 2 little samples, and I'm just going to sit here and watch Sewing Street.
Wouldn't that one look gorgeous in this? It's a little bit more grown up, I think, a bit more sophisticated. Which I know you wouldn't know anything about.
We said it was a big birthday coming up.
Anyway, no, it's not. I think all of them are big birthday parties.
I don't know, do you need to be enough picture?
Oh, yeah. 3.
So after coming back quite late on Saturday from our trip to Yarn Lane and then Whitley Court on the way home, for some reason Simon was really keen for us to go to Tintagel on the north coast of Cornwall. So I live in Cornwall, and Tintagel is on the north coast of Cornwall. It's about an hour's drive if there's no traffic. So he wanted us to go there on Sunday. I couldn't quite see why, because I knew I was going to be quite tired after driving all the way up to Yarn Lane and back again in 2 days. But he was really keen to go, and I'm glad we went because it was really lovely time. So in Tintagel they have got King Arthur's castle. So the castle, it's not actually a castle, it's ruins. There's just a few walls standing, but it's on the edge of a Cornish cliff basically, and you used to have to walk quite from the village, quite steep downhill, and then there was a lot of steps out to the top, up to the top of the cliff. Then of course you had to walk back down again afterwards. But recently they actually put a bridge in, a new bridge in over this big gap, which I'll show you in the video coming up. And the last time we tried to go there, it was closed because they were putting this bridge in, and then of course we've had COVID and loads of closures and things. So this is the first chance we've had a chance to go since this new bridge was built. And if you are frightened of heights, it might not be a good idea, but I actually quite enjoyed it. I have problems with my knees. I got arthritis in both my knees, so I actually use, when I walk on rough terrain, I use Nordic walking poles because I find that takes a lot of pressure off my knees and reduce the amount of pain I'm in. So when we got there, you have to walk down quite a steep hill from the village. And walking, as anyone who's got arthritis or problems with the knees will probably know, walking downhill when you have knee pain is quite painful. And because we sat in the car for so long, my knees were actually quite sore. So walking down this steep hill was actually quite painful. So I was quite relieved that we didn't have to do all these steps down to the bottom of the canyon as we used to do, and we could just go across this bridge. But I hope you enjoyed this video clip. It is a beautiful area. If you get a chance to come to Cornwall, do pay it a visit. It can get quite busy there. It is a bit of a touristy place, but it is absolutely beautiful. You don't actually have to pay to go to King Arthur's castle to take full advantage of the views. There is a Cornish footpath on the surrounding cliffs, so you can actually go on the cliffs just either side of this site, and have absolutely beautiful views, and you can see the bridge. But obviously if you want to go across the bridge and see the ruins of King Arthur's castle, then you have to pay to go in, and it's not cheap. Okay, so let's have a look and see what's on my needles. I have finished something in the last week, but I can't show you what it is because it's a sweater for a magazine and I had to post it last week. So it got posted off last week for the magazine. Then I also spent quite a lot of time last week knitting swatches for a design submission. So I feel like I haven't made a lot of progress on my knitting, but that's because I spent a lot of time over the last couple of weeks finishing this sweater. And then I also spent a lot of time last week knitting design submissions for a design, knitting swatches for a design submission. So, but I have been doing some knitting as well. So I cast on, I can't remember whether I showed you these in the last episode or not, but I did cast on a new pair of socks. So these are going to look like I haven't finished them. These are actually going to be trainer socks, so quite short socks, and I finished them on our trip to Yarn Lane. I knitted quite a bit in the car on the way up because we were stuck in a lot of traffic. And in the hotel in the evening, I think it was, I actually put the yarn in for the Afterthought heel. So you can just see the yellow bit going through there. That's the yarn for the, it's not actually yarn, it's like a nylon thread thing I have, which I got from my knitting machine, which I use as a waste yarn. So when I finish the other sock, I'm going to undo this bit and then I'm going to knit the heel in. And as you can see, the cuff is very, very short. So these are trainer socks. I've been knitting a few of these over the last year and I really, really like them because my feet get really cold. So even in the summer when I'm wearing trainers, I do quite like to wear socks. So that's what that is. That's the yarn. It's Lang Yawol, which is, and it comes in a 50-gram ball. It does actually have a one of these inside, obviously in green, so it comes with like a reinforcement thread. So if you find that it wears out on the heel or something, or on the toe, you can actually knit this along with your yarn and it'll just reinforce it a little bit. I don't tend to bother, so I've got quite a few of these lying around in the different colours because this is the colour I use for my Cadson sweater, which I released recently. So I got quite a few of these lying in a bowl next to my desk. Obviously the one inside here is green. It's right in the middle here, so you've got to kind of like, see if I can grab it, dig it out from the middle. There we go. So yeah, I don't know what I'm going to do with all these because I don't use them in my socks. I don't quite know what I'm going to do with them. If anyone wants some of these, let me know. So yeah, the trainer socks is only going to take 50 grams. It's only one of these skeins of the Lang Yawol. So that's the first one, except for the heel. I got to do the heel, and this is the second one. So I cast on for the second one in the car going home on Saturday, and then I haven't really done an awful lot on this since. So I finished the toe and I've started the pattern on the foot. The pattern for this, I'm basically using my Aventuras pattern. And I'm not sure whether to write this up and publish it as a separate pattern. I've done another pair which I've done a different stitch pattern on the top of the foot. This has got like a alternating rib. And I've done a pattern, I've done another version with another stitch pattern on the top of the foot. So I don't know whether to release it as a new pattern or just update my Aventuras pattern to include the details. I might do both. I might release it as a separate pattern, but also send it out as an update to everyone who's got my Aventuras pattern. One thing I do know, and that is if you have taken my Aventuras online course, you will get the trainer sock pattern added to the course. So if you're interested in learning how to knit socks, do check out the Aventuras online course. It will teach you how to knit socks the way I like to knit them. I'll put the link below to all my online courses so you can check them out if you're interested. So I have been doing quite a lot of knitting on my bright pink sweater. It's moved into my Plystra project bag. So Plystra is a company from Norway. They make these really nice canvas cotton canvas project bags. I stuck a lot of pins on the front of these because I kept buying all these pins and I wasn't quite sure where to put them, so I got quite a few pins on the front of here. But it's a really nice project bag. It's fairly big, so you've got room for like a sweater project in there. And I have finished, I can't remember how far I got last time I did a podcast episode, and I don't have time to go back and look, but I finished the back. I did actually, to make the decreases for the neck for the front work the way I wanted them to, I had to decrease 4 more stitches on each side than I had done on the back. So I need to actually finish the second front just before I came upstairs to record this. So I have to undo the last 4 rows on each side here and just decrease some more stitches. So I probably take me like half an hour maybe. Hopefully I'll get that done over lunch later. So on the back I've got like a diamond leaf pattern in the middle. Obviously this will look a lot better when I've blocked it. And then on this side I've got this other pattern which is mirrored on the other side. I don't know how easy this is to see, but that's mirrored on the other side of the body. So for the fronts I used one of those patterns on the left front and then I mirrored it for the right front. So the fronts look really narrow. They're not, because they will stretch a lot when I block them. But what I'm going to do, because I am slightly worried, when I worked out my tension and stuff, I hadn't actually decided to do the fronts in this pattern. I'd actually planned to do the fronts in the diamond lace pattern. So when I started the first front, I didn't actually measure my tension for this separately and make sure that would be wide enough. I just did half the number of stitches for the back and then cast on. And this does feel quite narrow, but as you can see, it's very, very stretchy. So when I block it, I think it will be okay. But what I'm going to do before I knit the sleeves, because I am cutting it a little bit fine with the amount of yarn I have, because I only had 300 grams of this. So I've got, I don't know where it's gone. I got 1 skein that I haven't started for the sleeves. So the sleeves have to take less than 50 grams for each sleeve. So with the final yarn, I'm going to, I'll talk about the sleeves in a minute actually. So what I'm going to do when I've redone the neck shaping, back neck shaping for this, I'm going to graft the shoulders, and then I'm actually going to pick up the stitches for the button band, because when I pick up for the button band, I'm going to pick it up all the way around, because this is V-neck shaping. So you can see here, I don't think you can kind of see the detail really, but the pattern that's on the outside here kind of carries on across here. So the shaping is inside this first pattern repeat, which I really like. So I'm going to, because it's a V-neck shaping, I'm going to pick up the stitches all the way around, and then knit the button band in a garter stitch. And if I need to make the fronts as wide as the back, I might just make the button band a little bit wider. I used 100 grams for the back with a safety margin. So I had that much left for the back, which I can't remember exactly how much it is, but it's between 5 and 10 grams. That's how much I got left from the front, because obviously on the front I have the waist, the V-neck shaping, so it cuts a big chunk out of it compared to the back. So I'm going to use this for the button band. It has a very simple, I didn't do any armhole shaping, it's just going to be a very simple boxy shape with dropped shoulders, because I'm so short of yarn. I didn't want to do armhole shaping and then find I didn't have enough and that kind of thing. So I kept the shape very, very simple. It's a very simple boxy shape with dropped sleeves. So the sleeves, I need to kind of think about, I need to have double check my spreadsheet and see how long I think the sleeves are going to be. I'm hoping they can be at least 3/4 length. If I can get the full length, I would love to, but at least 3/4 length. And I haven't decided whether to make the sleeves just like straight or whether to shape them a little bit. I need to check how long they're likely to be. I quite like quite wide sleeves, so just straight up wouldn't bother me. But I need to think about that a little bit. So I need to think about it today, because I will probably be ready to start the sleeves tomorrow. So yes, I've been knitting quite a bit on that as well lately. After I finished a sweater last week for my deadline, I've been knitting a lot on this pink sweater because I'd really like to finish it in the next week. This week if possible, but in the next week if I can, because I'm desperate to get onto something else. So I have a new pattern. It's not actually new as such. I will show you a little video clip of it. It was originally published in the Knitter magazine a few years ago. I was going to say I don't have the date in front of me here, but I think it might be like 4 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, maybe something like that. It's called Exmoor. It's knitted out of 1 ball of Zauber ball or Zauber ball 100. It was originally in the Knitter magazine, but it was a subscriber only pattern and it was for print subscribers only. So it was only people who subscribed to the print issue that got it, because I remember at the time some digital subscribers complained that they didn't get it. I didn't know that it was going to be a subscriber only pattern, but it was. So I've been asked quite regularly since if I'm going to release it as a pattern, and it's always kind of been on my list of patterns to release, but sometimes having the time to go back and look through the magazine patterns as the publishing rights to reverts to me and then publish them, it's just something I tend to forget about. Magazines have exclusivity period of varying from like 6 months to 2 years depending on the magazine. Some magazines will put the pattern up free on their website, some will want to sell it on their website, some don't do anything with them, it varies, but usually after the exclusivity period the rights return to me. But because I've done so many magazine designs over the years, having time to go through them and getting them ready to be self-published, it's quite a lot of work. I have to take new photographs because I'm not allowed to use magazine photographs, obviously, so I have to take new photographs, which is fine if it's a shawl, but if it's a garment, I need to find a model that will fit that size. I have to go through the pattern and convert it to my style of writing patterns and put it into my layout, and that means I also have to get it pattern checked, so I need to get my tech editor to check it. So it's a lot of time, a lot of money, and I don't know, I always tend to forget about it. Once it's been a magazine, it's kind of out of my mind and I forget about it. So I am actually planning to over the summer to go through a few patterns and see if there are any other ones I want to self-publish. But the first one up is the Exmoor pattern. A lady wrote to me recently and said, are you going to release the Exmoor pattern? And I thought, right, I need to get around to it. So as I actually had the pattern in my office, I didn't have an excuse. So it is now ready, and I will put a link to it below. So I finished recording earlier and then I popped out to go to the post office, and I came back and there was a parcel on my doorstep. So I thought I'd just come up and show you quickly what just arrived. So it's got this beautiful little bag. It's from a company called Beautiful Knitters. They are based in Pimlico in London. I was actually teaching there in February last year, a month before we went into our first lockdown, and COVID was already, I think there would have been a couple of cases of COVID in the UK, and it was definitely spreading in other parts of Europe. And I remember we were talking about whether or not we should go, because Simon decided to come along and we made a long weekend of it. And I said, well, because I'm teaching, I am going. I'm not cancelling. I don't like cancelling workshops, and I really wanted to teach in London. I really wanted a trip to London. So I said, we're not going. And we went. If we'd been going just for fun for a holiday, we probably would have cancelled it, but because I was teaching, I said I'm not cancelling. So anyway, I taught the beautiful knitters in Pimlico in London, and a few days ago I saw them post a photograph on their Instagram account of this cute little bag. It's quite small, it's not that big. If you look at my hand, like 2 widths of my hand. I do have big hands though. So I saw that and I thought, oh, that's really cute. And I like the fact that it was quite small. I prefer if it wasn't cream because things tend to get dirty, but that's fine. It's got a thing on the front that says, I survived 2020 thanks to knitting, and then it's got their logo in the bottom there. So I thought it was just a bit of fun. And then because it seemed a little bit not quite enough to warrant the postage, to just pay for that, order that. It does also have, like, it's quite wide, this bag, by the way. It's square and it has this short handle, so it's perfect for like a little project bag, or if you just need to take lunch to the office, or lunch and drink to the office, or take your knitting, use it as a project bag, or just if you need a few bits of shopping. So it's perfect. So because it didn't seem like too much enough to just order that and pay for the postage, so while I was there I actually picked up another set of Lykke tips. So you'll remember from the last episode, if you watched it, if not you can go back and watch it, that I'd ordered the pink Lykke tips and interchangeable cables for the Lykke interchangeable needles. These are the driftwood tips, and they're size 4mm because they're probably the ones I use the most. If you watched me on Yarn Lane on Saturday, I actually used the pink needles that I used for the, I think it was the cover actual, the first demo I did. That was actually the pink version of these. Which they're really nice to knit with, actually, very light. I did tell a story last time that I did buy some of these in 2.5mm for sock needles and broke them. So that's why this time I thought I'm not buying them for sock knitting, because I'll just stick them in my bag and break them. So got these because the driftwood ones are really pretty. And then I had a look at their yarn and I was quite fascinated by this yarn. It's aloe sock wool, and it's from a company called YarnAddict, which I think is Danish, because it's got a Danish flag on the side there, so I assume that means they're Danish. But it's aloe sock wool, and it's treated with aloe vera, so I guess that makes it feel softer or kinder on your feet, I don't know. But I thought that was a really pretty colour, I really like that. I did think that maybe I would knit socks for my daughter, but I really like that colourway, so I might keep this for myself. Might be a pair of socks over the summer, we'll see. So it was quite a cheap, YarnAddict is a fairly cheap yarn, so it wasn't very expensive, so I got that as well. So I will put the link to Beautiful Knitters below if you want to go and check that out. I know they said they only had a few of these left, and I think they're quite cute. And then another purchase, which I've kind of forgotten about because I ordered it for this design submission I was working on last week. So I've kind of forgotten that I'd ordered it. And that is from Blacker Yarns, which is actually based about half an hour from here in Cornwall. That's where their mill is. And I needed something for a design submission that was either environmentally friendly or local or ethical in some way. So because I didn't have that much time, I thought I would support a local company. So I ordered Blackest Swan 4-ply, which is merino from the Falkland Islands merino, from a small flock in the Falklands Islands. So that's Blackest Swan 4-ply, and then I also got a ball of Blackest Swan DK, so it's the same yarn but in the DK. I've used quite a bit of this one for the design submission, and I've used a little bit of that one. So these weren't really for my stash as such, these were for design submission. So I'll put those in my on my shelves, so that if I need them again, need those colours again for design submission, I've got them. But yeah, I really like Blacker yarn, so I'll pop their link below as well. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this episode. And I hope to see you next time. If you haven't subscribed, please do. And I do actually have a little video coming out in a few days on blocking the X-small pattern. So that will probably be in the next few days. And yes, I hope you enjoyed. Thank you for joining me. I really appreciate your time. And if you want to share this podcast with your friends, please feel free to do so. Let's see if we can get to 1,000 subscribers soon. I might do a giveaway for a kit when we get to 1,000 subscribers. So if you want a chance to win a kit, subscribe and then tell your friends about me. I will see you next time, and I hope you enjoy your knitting.